I love questions, and the other day I was asked how you could use a second colour and have an area of double knitting within an area of single knitting. So my white fabric is single knit, and this area here has been worked as double knitting. This is very similar to a pocket, except we're using two colours. In order to set this up, what we have to do is make some pairs of double stitches. And I want my pink to be my front colour, so I need to throw that second. I'm going to throw the yarn for my white stitch. Then I'm going to follow it with the pink stitch. And I'm not holding them in the same hand. I'm separating them out. I can do it first with the white and then with the pink, using the right hand. But if you keep them in separate hands, they're going to stay sorted out. First with the white, then with the pink. First with the white, then with the pink. And my white stitch is going to be my far layer, and my pink stitch is going to be my near layer, which is quite unusual. We're more used to having our pairs arranged near ahead of far. So we're going to have to concentrate on that. And for that reason, I'm not using alternative rotation purling, just doing conventional purl. And here I'm back into the single knitting. I'm one stitch away from my doubled area, so I'm going to purl that. Then I'm going to bring that yarn across so that my pink yarn can hang on two bits of white at the back and take it to the far side of the work, the public side. And now I'm going to work my pairs, and I'm going to purl this because I want it to be stocking stitch when viewed from the other side, and I'm going to knit this one because we've decided we want this to be stocking stitch faced on this side. I could continue in reverse stocking stitch and purl it, but I have a choice. Then I bring that out of the way whilst I purl this. Oops, I have to remember whether I'm knitting or purling. This is conventional double knitting, but do remember that the first stitch of the pair belongs to the far layer. And here is my last pair being completed with a near layer stitch, which is unusual. And I bring both yarns to the private side before I proceed to the end of the row. If I wish to expand this doubled area, all I have to do is double another stitch. So I'm going to go with the white first and the pink second. And now I go into regular double knitting, so I've got to bring both yarns forward so I can purl this, take both yarns back so I can knit that, and proceed across the patch. Just remember when you come to the edge of the patch that it is completed with a near side stitch. So that's my last pair. Leave my contrast colour at the back and carry on with the white, or if I wish to extend it one more pair, got to keep it in that same sequence, white pink, so we do white first, follow with the pink, and now I've got two more additional pairs ready for double knitting on the next row. Once you have your area set up, it's very easy to maintain it. So this is my last stocking stitch, and now this yarn is going to become my back colour, and this is going to become my front colour. So I'm going to bring that forward and start purling my back layer. So this is quite unusual in the fact that our first stitch of the pair belongs to the far layer. Get that out of the way, and now we can work in conventional double knitting, remembering that that far stitch and that near stitch form one pair. I'm using conventional pearls because we have enough going on here without having alternative stitch mounts. And all you need to remember is that your front layer stitch completes the pair. At the far end of the colour block, I have one more pair to complete. So that's a far purl and a near knit. And now I'm going to leave my knit yarn or my front yarn at the back of the work and just carry on in regular single knitting. There is, as you would expect, a slight difference in gauge between the double knit section and the single knit section, but that actually adds texture, and you could stuff between these layers. On the return row, I work up to my double knit section, and my next stitch is going to be the contrast colour. So I've crossed it over my white main yarn and put it into position for working my double knitting. And continue working my far stitch, my near stitch. Now at the far edge of the motif with one more pair to work. That's my purl, that's my knit. Now I need to bring my contrast yarn to the front and continue working in single knitting. If you want to change this shape now and bring it in a little bit, all we have to do is work a knit two together with the front layer stitch and the back layer stitch, and they become joined together and resume being part of the single knitting. That's because our layout is with the far stitch ahead on the needle, so we can just do a knit two together to join those that pair together and take them back to being a single stitch. And we can resume double knitting. So bring that front yarn forward before you work that back stitch, because that's actually the edge of the colour block, and we'll go back to conventional double knitting. On this side we'll convert the last two pairs back to single knitting. So that's one pair joined, another pair joined, and on the next row we'll join right across the top of the shape. This is one of the pairs that I bonded last row, so it's just ordinary single knitting now. And if I wanted to open this and stuff it, I can put these stitches onto spare needles if I wish, or I can just drop them off, stuff it, and then replace the stitches back on my needle. And once again I can just do purl two together all the way across to join those pairs together and get us back to our original number of stitches. Now where I joined two pairs together on the previous row, it does leave us with a bit of a float across the back. Possibly you could ladder back that stitch, tuck that slightly inside. It's not the prettiest thing, so it may be that you prefer to do sort of triangles where you only change the edge of the shape by one stitch at a time, and then your floats would not be as significant